let me first ask Yuri. Yuri, you know, you've watched several Indian cities work. Now, what is it from emerging market examples, from BRICS country examples, that India can copy and get right?
Look, here I think I'm actually with Junaid. India will invent its own solutions and develop its own approaches. Enlightened, informed knowledge, fine. And their networks exist, but in order to do that, let me come back to something that kind of popped up in the comments but was not really named, and says, since Junaid opened the doors of disassociating himself from his organization, let me do the same, and say, I think in the next 15 to 20 years, the biggest problem in Indian urbanization will be in the area of governance. And, you know, today the most vibrant networks for cities to develop is mayor-to-mayor networks. I mean, these are the networks that, in spite of the United States pulling out of the climate, agreement, are still pushing the U.S. to achieve fairly impressive results in the green economy and green energy. In Europe, the most vibrant network is not among countries. Regions are now competing, but the most vibrant one is among cities. India's system of governance, and it's fine, look, I'm not saying you need to change it tomorrow, it has to be an evolution, but you need to have fully empowered mayors that can raise their taxes, that have an elected assembly, that have, independent audits.
And a longer tenure.
Right. I mean, when you think of the state of New York, to use an extreme example, nobody really thinks of Albany. Right? Everybody thinks of the city of New York, right? In the same way, if you parallel it to Maharashtra, Maharashtra would be Maharashtra, but Bombay would be Bombay, right? And indeed, it can raise its taxes, it can generate more GDP growth, and it can be financially viable and attract private investment. But unless that governance is tweaked, you will never have an owner in a city. And take Bombay, which is what today, 20 million, over 20 million?
22.
I'm sorry, most countries are smaller than that. So I do not know why in the long term, Indian cities need to be run from the state perspective. I think they need to be run from a city perspective. And that's also the way to bring increased democracy into the cities, because when citizens of Bombay or Delhi vote for their leader, then they can keep them accountable to whatever is promised.
Nana, you just authored a book on, exactly urban problems, sanitation and waste disposal. As a watcher and collecting data for your book, what do you think the central government can? We don't have state government representatives here. So we're putting everything on their table or on their plate because they're not present here. But what do you think the central government can do?
So I think for a start, we need to really going down the track that Yuri suggests on what is that ideal city. And there's a lot of work with that a think tank I work with called the New Climate Economy has done, which is around compact and connected cities. The idea of compact being vertical, but it's not just going vertical, it's vertical with green spaces. So the thought is, of course, to maintain that. And I think Amrut and others are really setting some of this thinking in the new plans. It's not easy to suddenly wipe out all the buildings you have, but we must at least have what that ideal structure looks like.
Exactly.
Which we don't. So to that extent, yes, Niti Aayog exposing our existing teams, and I'm very glad that's happening, but the trouble is those guys who go and see are not going to be there tomorrow, so I don't know who we're exposing this stuff to. But we need to build a cadre of people who are municipal commissioners, who stay there, who are trained, and to create an environment there where outsiders who want to give of their energy and time can come. Now, I have seen examples, and to your point, in Africa and Uganda, the municipality there vacated some space for cleaning of sanitation and waste from the various urban slums, and they have them as much as we do, and allowed private entrepreneurs to operate in a full, seamless, go-in, totally clean method of collecting the waste where no human being needed to touch anything in little loos in slums which are no better than ours, all the way to the way it is treated. So why are we in our municipality so dog in the manger-ish about what we can't do, won't do, and won't let others do? So how do we open it up to a spirit of entrepreneurship, where a private entrepreneur is happy, forget even having the courage to, but be happy to go in and work because he knows the rules and regulations won't change. And to that point, I would also add that in the space of sanitation, the experiments which India is starting in distributed sanitation are critical. The time and money that it takes to build these huge sewage plants, which we do not have, and most of our cities don't even treat 50% of our waste, the ability to do it through FSTPs, smaller plants, which can be paid for by citizens. So some of these FSTPs can be as little as 800 rupees a year for a citizen in a middle class RWA to support is not impossible. But we do not have the people who know how to build it. Yes, there are institutions which will come in and companies that will come in. But we need a whole body of entrepreneurs who can maintain these FSTPs, that can run them, that have accountability, rules, ratings, and citizens who understand why they're paying for it. And when you pay, you make the delivery of that service accountable. So citizens' ownership of some of these issues is also key, and it can only happen if we are aware of it. And I'll just end by saying we often have the rules. So buildings over a certain size have to have their own sewage treatment plants. Every builder ticks the box. 6 months later, that plant isn't operating because the quality of what has been built has not been checked. Somebody ticked a box, and honest citizens go in, buy the flat, but they don't even know that they should be looking to see that this aspect is addressed and seen. So there's awareness at the citizen level, transparency, and regulations that need to be adhered to and seriously punished on these matters. These are crimes and they should be treated as crimes, but we let them go.
You were going to say
I was just, because you put the question to Naina, what should the central government be doing?
Yes.
I think fundamentally, these are schemes which will not succeed as the Swachh Bharat mission has shown, or smart cities, unless they have full citizen involvement. So you've got to take the narrative out of the silos of the bureaucracy and the ministries and take it out into the marketplace, involve civil society, private sector and so on.
Thank you very much, Yuri, Mr. Kant, Mr. Puri, Junaid and Naina for joining in this conversation. I think it has set a lot of brilliant ideas. And let me thank Janagraha for this excellent idea of ranking cities. I hope Mumbai is first next time. Thank you very much.